Grandbaby number three, I had announced this a while back. Connor and Jaden are going to have another grandbaby due, I think, mid-April. I don't remember the exact date.
That's a child.
It doesn't make sense, I think, to
There's
memorize
another
dates.
child, you know?
I'll memorize birthdays.
Grandchild.
But
Yeah, grandchild.
they had the ultrasound to determine the sex on Friday, and I got my wish. I'm sorry, I'm a big softie here. I
It's a girl.
wanted a granddaughter, and I'm getting a granddaughter.
See?
So I'm pretty excited about that.
What?
I mean, I cried when they sent us the pictures and the text and all of that. And of course, I'm getting a little bit moist in the eyeballs right now. But I love being a grandpa. I love my two grandsons so much. But there's just something in me that felt like having a granddaughter would be just the most magical thing. And I'm gonna have a granddaughter. So super stoked about that. I'm excited that I was able to share that with all of you at the end of this video, which is not going to be the end of the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. So thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for listening to me while I'm sick. Thanks for listening to me as I overthunk this whole podcast thing. And thank you for just being here. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments. Thanks for watching.
Now what?
There.
Miss Wills, yeah.
So-called life or what?
Oh, it's around?
Yeah.
All the people's blocking this concert, Yeah. Did you watch Steelers the other day? What?
Yeah.
That's the every bird. Come salama me. Come salama. Huh?
Mm-hmm. There's a study that just came out that found that this diet had a huge effect on depression, like tremendous effect on just brain conditions. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that? Yeah, happy to. So in this study, they were actually studying college undergraduates, and it's really fascinating because one of the complaints sometimes I hear about recommending the ketogenic diet for mental health is, oh, but it's such a hard diet to follow. People with depression who are living out in the real world, they're never going to be able to follow this diet. But in this case, they had college undergraduates who were depressed. Some of them were on medication, some were not.
Why?
And they counseled them about how to do a ketogenic diet. They gave them a few samples of how to do it, but largely in this 12-week study, these kids were cooking for themselves. And they were able to put themselves into ketosis, and they had marked improvements in their depression just from a ketogenic diet. And this is Dr. Jeff Moltzker. That's right. So, like, well-known researcher in this space. Absolutely. Yeah, this is really nice science. In this case, like many of these ketogenic clinical studies in mental health, there wasn't a control group. They consider it a pilot trial, and they're moving on to a bigger trial with a control group for many of these studies. So that's the phase where this one is now. But what it does show is that it's feasible, it's effective, and that it really works for depression. What do you think is happening? Because depression is a wild one, right? There's like something like millions of different ways that you could classify depression, like literally. Like it's like, yeah. What is happening here? Why do you think the ketogenic diet is working so effectively for this? Yeah, I mean, I think we don't know the exact reasons, but we can extrapolate from the neuroscience that's been done for decades, progressive ketogenic diets in epilepsy. And so one of the main ones is we're providing this additional source of fuel for the brain. So as the brain becomes insulin resistant, and depression is associated with brain insulin resistance, the brain can literally be bathed in glucose and still be starving for energy because neurons need insulin signaling to get glucose inside for burning for fuel. Ketones don't need insulin signaling to get inside neurons. So we're kind of bypassing that blockade, and we're getting energy to those neurons where they were starving for energy before. So that's a huge mechanism. The other one is mitochondria. We know that ketones help mitochondria proliferate, to make more of them, mitochondrial biogenesis, and also to do mitophagy. neurons are incredibly energy intensive. So, more mitochondria, more energy, more efficient energy production. So that's super important. But mitochondria do so much more in the brain than just make energy. Mitochondria are involved in the release of neurotransmitters. So we know that at the end of the neuron, there's these little vesicles that hold the neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine or norepinephrine. In order to release that neurotransmitter, the mitochondria actually huddle around the vesicle and allow it to be released. Yeah, they're not just energy factors. These mitochondria are, moving around the neurons all the time. They're, fusing together and they're breaking apart. They're going into these certain patterns, and it's, we don't understand all of what they do, but they're involved in the first step of hormone synthesis. They're involved in telling the genes in the nucleus which genes to turn on and which to turn off. Mitochondria are involved in cellular death, apoptosis. They're the first step in that. And they're involved in resolving inflammation, which we know is super important for overall health, but also especially for brain health. So, improving mitochondrial health is a huge mechanism by which ketogenic diets improve brain health, mental health, and improve depression.
This is where that product timeline can come into play. I think this is cool science with this, because this is a compound, urolithin A, that induces mitochondrial autophagy. Mitophagy has been published in a lot of papers, been published in JAMA, all kinds of different research journals, because it induces autophagy or of the mitochondria. It's called mitophagy. So you take that regularly, but you can take that even when you're not fasting, and it kind of continues that autophagy effect, and it helps rebuild those mitochondria. So this is one of the most foundational longevity compounds that's out there. But personally, I take it more.
Yeah, a little bit, Ben. Yeah.
I feel like my mitochondria is strong. That's a special discount link. So you can use that link down below. So you can use their capsules. They've got a powder. They also have gummies, which taste pretty good too, and they don't have sugar in them. So that link is down below. These guys are great. They're a Swiss company that really focuses on precision too. So the stuff is legit. Link down below. When you say I'm still kind of hung up on the fact that they hover around and actually kind of be involved in the neurotransmitter release. Yeah. So in essence, if you have less functioning mitochondria, because it's just, you haven't had a whole lot of biogenesis, you just have, are you limiting the amount of neurotransmitters you can release, or you're limiting, I think of it as the options that you have, right? Like if you look at this simple math, let's just for simple math's sake, you have 1,000 mitochondria in a healthy individual, you have 100 in an unhealthy individual. Like 1,000 mitochondria gives you more flexibility, more options, more like ratios, more different directions you can go. Whereas if you're limited to only a select number of mitochondria, that's less overall volume that you can produce, right? Like so you can only go so many directions, less flexibility. Yeah, less volume of energy for sure. True. But it's not just energy. Is what I'm saying is that they're doing all these other things, and if you have less of them, and if they're not functioning well, so that's where the sort of mitophagy comes in. The ones that are stopping to function well, if they're just sort of teetering along, they're not really doing their function. That's going to cause a dysfunction in the whole cell. And in this case, the neuron's not going to perform its function. It's not going to release its neurotransmitter. But then, ketones not just, they don't just produce mitochondrial biogenesis, but they increase mitophagy as well. So what exactly is mitophagy? So it's essentially autophagy of a mitochondria. So, and we know autophagy is just the cellular recycling. So we're going to break down that mitochondria for parts and reassemble it into a well-functioning mitochondria. It's obviously really important because one thing that I do know is that the mitochondria has its own DNA, right? So if it's a dysfunctional mitochondria, it's still potentially creating more dysfunctional mitochondria. So it's like you want this to occur because you'd rather, if the mitochondria is going to go through biogenesis, you want that mitochondrial DNA to be from good, healthy mitochondria. That's right. That's right. And the other way to think about this is that mitochondria are like colonies. They work as a team. They're not just these individual, energy factories are doing their individual function. We see them coordinate together. Like I said, they fuse together, they break apart, they go into patterns. We actually know from electron microscopy that cell to cell, that mitochondria can actually communicate with each other. Yeah, they do it with the that too, right? You seen that stuff? Yeah, wow. It's incredible. So they're literally
they go into formations from one cell to the other. They can actually see them. The mitochondria going into a formation in one cell will affect the mitochondria in another cell
in completely different areas of the body sometimes.
Yeah, that's what's wild. It's incredible.
So I mean, when you talk about like the mind body, you talk about like the brain energetics and the metabolism of the brain, not indirectly but directly affecting other areas of the body.
That's right.
I mean, we're talking like, yeah, over the last 6 months, I've become so increasingly interested in that whole realm of the fact that they let you get light from biophotons. That's part of the way they signal. They communicate by, they emit their own light, like from,
What?
it's about just crazy. Like, so in,
Yeah.
you heard of proton tunneling before?
Yeah.
So like, at a quantum level, essentially the mitochondria are able to bypass the entire like electron transport chain and have energy just teleport. Like they're doing these insane things, and this point is that the mitochondria, like to your point, are not just energy factories. As a matter of fact, that might be one of the smaller jobs that they do.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, I mean, we are energetic beings. In medicine, we think of ourselves as, neuro or chemical, biochemical. Everything's about chemistry, but not everything's about chemistry. Energy flowing is a huge factor, and this is part of what you're describing is exactly that.
It's almost like depression is just a malfunction in energy flowing.
Yeah, and that's what people say. People come to me and they say they're depressed. Well, I always ask them, well, what does that mean for you? Because it can mean a lot of things. But for most people, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about not having energy. Yeah, that's how people subjectively experience it. So it's pretty clear that like we're not making enough energy. The brain doesn't have enough energy. The body doesn't have enough energy, and it's all related to these mechanisms we're talking about. We don't understand all of it, but we do know a lot about how to fix it.
I think you're really onto something. I think that a lot of the overall like body metabolic benefits we get from the ketogenic diet actually start with the brain benefits that we're getting.
That's right.
Anyone like yourself that studies the head knows that it's all starting there. And we may say, oh well, this ketogenic diet's improving my liver, it's improving, and that may be the case, but still, and the more that I've studied this over the last more than a decade, I am more and more convinced that it's starting in the brain.
That's really cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, I think I certainly see it that way as well. When we're improving energy production, our brain's going to benefit the most because the brain is the most energy intensive organ, right? And the mind-body connection, as we've been talking about, or the brain-body connection, is so important in all of this. The brain is talking to the body, but the body's also talking to the brain. It's going both directions all the time, and I think we've really lost that in my field, in medicine. We've lost the sense that these things are so intricately connected. They're really the same thing. We think about all these different, every doctor has their own part that they're working on. They're not thinking about the whole. This is a big problem in medicine.
With the study that just came out with Boris group, we know, are they going to do it all of them? I'm curious if we want to pick up 12 weeks of ketogenic diet and work it off of it if the effects were lasting.
Yeah, I don't know that they've done follow-ups yet. I think the paper just came out. I think that's part of the plan. And then there's many studies going on now around the world.
This is like 22 minutes,
Many of them are randomized controlled trials, and many of them do have long-term follow-up as part of it, and some of them are much bigger studies. So we're going to see data on ketogenic diets and mental health that's going to blow our minds in the next couple of years.
What about, just getting to a little bit more advanced stuff, schizophrenia?
Yeah.
And what you're seeing, there's some fairly early and actually see some evidence in general on schizophrenia and ketogenic diet.
There is.
What are we seeing there? And I don't really understand, I don't know a whole lot about like, what's happening in the brain with schizophrenia.
What are you eating now?
I don't know if we do entirely anyway.
What?
But what are we seeing with the ketogenic diet? What's it potentially doing to the brain?
So there is some really good data on schizophrenia.
Did you have that again?
Yeah.
There's a couple of studies that I'll talk about. One is a study of inpatients that was done in the south of France. So this is a doctor who had been an inpatient psychiatrist for years.
Yeah.
And, people would come into his inpatient in that hospital who are really ill. Many of them have psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. And many of them get hospitalized over and over again. People with a chronic illness. They get put on medications that stabilize them somewhat, but not enough. They end up getting hospitalized multiple times. So he took a series of 31 of them and put them on a ketogenic diet. 28 of them completely disappeared. ketosis. There's a scale called the PANS, and the effect size in the study on the PANS was over 3. That's the Cohen's d. So I don't know if people are familiar, but a Cohen's d of 0.2 to 0.5 is small. That's where SSRI antidepressants kind of fall in. Antipsychotics kind of fall in the moderate range at 0.65. Anything between 0.5 and 0.8 is moderate. The reduction in PANS on the ketogenic diet in that study was about 3.4. It's like a gigantic reduction, right? So that was an uncontrolled trial, but nonetheless, when we get those kind of results, we have to pay attention. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
Have you ever seen anything that was with that much of a result?
No, I like to say that in my 25 years as a practicing psychiatrist full time, I have never seen an intervention as powerful as a ketogenic diet for mental health. Nothing else is as powerful. It's incredible. And it's the same side effects like I get with all the medications I prescribe. We're getting side benefits. People who want to lose weight.
Thank you.
Resistance gets better. They feel more energy. All these benefits. They lose visceral fat. Another great study came out recently where they showed that visceral fat talks to the brain. Vesicles that are received in the brain that cause depression. Visceral fat talks to the brain. This is again the mind-body connection. It's incredible.
So what is happening there when you say these vesicles? It's something that's just like a neural communication.
Yeah, like sending a molecule that's associated with depression through the visceral fat that gets into the brain. Now, some of that's animal data, but the molecule itself has been studied in humans. So we know that molecule is associated with depression in humans. The study that showed that the vesicles are going from the visceral fat to the brain is a mouse study. But it's pretty compelling science. It's really cool. And we almost always see reductions in visceral fat when people go on ketogenic.
Visceral fat.
Which would make complete sense given the amount of glucocorticoid receptors that are in visceral fat and how cortisol affects the brain. It would make sense that even if you back out of the metabolic piece for a second, you look at just stress, right? The effect of stress on visceral fat, the effect of stress on the brain is probably pretty similar, right? So it makes sense that there's this connection there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's redundant systems all throughout the body, right? So, there's many mechanisms by which metabolism affects the brain. Visceral fat to the brain is one of them. We also know about muscle sending signals to the brain, right? The myokines, which is a very cool story as well. You want your brain to be happier, make your muscles happier.
Yeah, I think that's you're essentially marinating your brain in these signals that that's right on one way or the other, right? You got different items which might not be helping you out so much, and you got these, the fat is kind of marinating your brain. That's right. So it seems as though if you wanted to really back it out to simplicity, it's either going to be inflammatory or anti-inflammatory.
That's right.
Plain and simple. That's right. So, what kind of diet, when you look at ketogenic diet that these college kids were doing, do we happen to know what the ratio was? Do we happen to know the specifics, or was it all just sort of self-reported, measure your ketones, and that's really it?
I think they gave an instruction on a ratio. I can't remember what it was, but it was around a 1.5 to 1, maybe 2 to 1 kind of ratio. So they were given some, nutritional education, and they were showed some samples of what the plate might look like, and they were told to go out and basically mimic that at home, and they were able to do it, which is really cool because I think again that's what some people think. Oh, this is so hard. Well, a college kid who's taking intense, full workload of courses and who's generally distracted by a million different things can do it. They're generally, not that motivated to work on diet. I think the rest of us can learn from that. That well, if they can do it, hopefully others can do it too, right?
From my own experience, it's significantly easier to manage a ketogenic diet when you're busy than any other diet. I will honestly say that that's the gospel truth because I think you could break it down to just you're eliminating one variable, right? Just how hard is it to eat meat and vegetables and fat? You're eliminating a variable of carbohydrates. Not even to say carbohydrates are good, bad, or ugly, but you're simply eliminating a variable. That's one less thing you have to factor in. That's one less thing you have to cook. That's one less thing you have to. It's frankly it's way easier because when you're on the go, you can just get a burger patty. You can just it's right. It's not difficult to sustain.
Yeah, once you learn how to do it, it's really easy.
So that's what. Unfortunately, I have a lot of videos on this channel, so I can link out to them. But definitely, there are lots of good resources on how to do it. So I don't think that there's any shortage of information on how to do it. We touched on it in another video, but I want to mention it real quick. One of the ways that people can maybe kind of elevate their ketones a little bit through use of MCT oil.
Yeah.
Have you seen that depression studies at all? Or in your personal experience, like to see if you do have an elevation of ketones with MCT oil?
That's right. Yeah, we use MCT oil a lot in our work, and I know a lot of the epilepsy dietitians use MCT oil a lot as well. So it's a great way to, just add in a very ketogenic fat. So some of your fat in your ratio is MCT, you're just going to have higher ketone levels in general than if it was a different fat. And so, depends on toleration. And as you know, some people tolerate it really well. And I've seen some dietitians go up to 2 tablespoons 3 times a day of MCT. So that's the sort of modified ketogenic MCT version of a ketogenic diet. But even, just a tablespoon in the morning will just give people the boost they need to, get really going in the day.
Yeah, so independent of your ketogenic diet, how I started this, you did an elevation of ketones.
That's right.
And I think that there's something different about, it certainly feels different between having MCT oil actually producing the ketones yourself versus like exogenous ketones, right? There's just something slightly different. I think exogenous ketones certainly have a place. They're fascinating, and the research is quite fascinating. But something is different when your body is actually synthesizing the ketones. You're actually creating them in the liver versus consuming them. And yeah, if you put my finger on it, it feels different.
Do you think it has to do with the rapidity of the rise, like that curve?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
this is like a more natural rise of ketones as opposed to this all at once from exogenous ketone.
Yes, and we can get into the particulars of it, but with like a ketone ester or monoester or even some of the diesters that they're kind of experimenting with, some of those, they seem to have an insulin spike that comes with them. That's unusual. What they do cause, I'll be honest, because they cause a spike in insulin. Maybe it's because such a rapid change, who knows, but that's creating an interesting superphysiological state, right? So like the superphysiological state meaning that these high levels of, not high, but moderate level of insulin at the same time that you have ketones, which is something that doesn't happen naturally.
That's right.
So the only other time that would happen, when you think about it, is if you were co-administering carbohydrates with ketones, like some athletes might do, right? To become fuel, you're creating a superphysiological state. So you would have high insulin plus high ketones, but in that case, you would also have glucose. So the glucose would be going somewhere and you wouldn't go hypoglycemic. So sometimes, like ketone monoester might make you feel just kind of weird. Insulin spike with it,
and that's going to lower your glucose. So you're going to have high ketones, but your glucose is just getting slow.
So you might feel funky. Like one of the worst I've ever felt cognitively was like the first time I tried ketone ester, and I was achieving ketosis, and I tried it, and I think that's what happened is all of a sudden I had some insulin spike on a practically zero carb diet, so I went totally hypo, and I was feeling that day. It was like could not think.
Wow.
And so the point is like I think just the rapidity of it, yes. I think there's just it's man-made, It's like you give yourself some MCT oil, your body knows what to do. It knows how to rate limit. It knows how to the feedback loop. It's not going to produce too much. It's not going to. It's easy to you can take a bunch of ketones and you can easily take too much and trigger some other feedback loop to God knows what. That's right.
Yeah, like anything man-made, it can be powerfully helpful, but also too much of a good thing and you can go over the cliff.
Totally. Well, Dr. Bernstein, where can everyone find you?
So I have a LinkedIn account, and if someone wants to reach out to me there, I love to respond. And then people can find me through my program, which is called Accord, where we do these ketogenic diets for mental health, and that's called, the website is accordmh.com.
Right on.
That's great.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great day. 2013 at 350. We got a little bit of an oil leak going on down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go underneath here and check on it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great day. 2013 at 350. We got a little bit of an oil leak going on down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go underneath here and check on it. Alright, here we are underneath the truck. You can see we got some lower pan leaking. And looks like we're leaking a little bit. The upper pan is actually not leaking. Surprisingly, it's right there in that corner. But it's coming from further up. So that means it's being swung around. I see all that wetness right there around the side of the tube. And then we got looks like the lower pan. It's leaking right here. And then we go back up here and look. It's coming out of this corner. Right there. That's coming out of that corner. But the corner of the pan is not leaking. And it's wet all the way across. If I get some light on it up there. Probably not. Probably can't see that. Way up there on the side. So it's and if you look really close, look at the bottom of the bolt. See how you got oil coming out of it? So this rear crankshaft seal is leaking. It's actually coming through the bolt holes. I bet the inside of this bell housing is full. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull the starter out. We're going to disconnect our transmission cooler lines. We're going to disconnect our cable, our bulkhead connector, and our front drive shaft, back drive shaft. And we're going to pull this transmission out. And we're going to replace that seal. And I'm just taking off this heat shield. 13 mil.
Mickey Mouse.
Sit you over here. I like to put my whole chair in 6 months. Wonder where you go. Now I need to mark the drive shaft. And then mark the drive shaft. Then I can start taking all this apart. And got 1, 2. Oh, look, it's already marked. Oh, nice. I don't even have to mark this one. Just be able to pop this one right out.
Okay. Time to finish.
This one's not.
Okay. How's that, Mama?
So.
What do you say, Mom?
Yellow dot. Yellow line. Cool. For you. Disconnect you. You off.
Where's my stuff?
I'm going to put the e-brake on. I'm going to have to put this in neutral to get everything out.
Where's my stuff?
So if you look up here, there's actually two little. Right here, right here.
Where's my stuff?
So, I'll this one out. So, another one here. This one out. Sorry if you keep getting the lights in your eye. So, unplug, unscrew, undo, this, we'll be able to hang around back here. Like so. She'll look up like that. Like that. Mark, reverse, neutral. That's the big disco. Include a bolt right there for the dipstick. Then these two bolts here. And that helps. Pop out. Like that. Smooth sail.
Hey, Ma? I gotta call my girlfriend you, Mama. Later? Let me know, okay?
Those are 12 millimeter, 13 point line sockets. So, do not use a 4 point, do not use a 6 point on them. You will mess them up. A pry bar. This one might work. Not really a pry bar, but. Just imagine if you tug with him. Straight. Pull it on the other end. And we have a dry line. So,
Comfortable thing off the floor. Yes.
Like so. You can see. I do have a wheel stop.
There it was.
Can you see that? Yeah. Wheel stop. There and there. So that's out. Start working our way back toward the front. These little guys at 6 point, once they're 8 or 10 millimeters, if they are not 13 point, just use a little 8 or 10, I think it's a 10. Pull the caps off, and you'll be able to pop this thing out, and it's going to come out the transfer case and the transmission all at once. Get you a pry bar, stick it up in between here like this.
What kind of drug issue?
You'll be able to loosen it. You'll be able to take it out all the way. Keep the same bolts with the straps so we know where they go. Stick the bolt
Strap. Bolt with the straps. Bolt with the strap. Keep the bolts together. There. There. There's another one. You just tap it with a hammer. This is a slip. Tap it with a hammer. Pull it out. And then what I like to do is I'll put the strap back on it. Sometimes it'll get away before you think it should be fine in this case. I'll put the strap back up on the drive shaft. If I have to move it, if it gets in the way, no big deal. Stick that in there. That way you're keeping all your bolts together. I have a habit of doing that, so I know where to go. Like so. Like so. And then all we gotta do is we'll have to take the shifter cable, the bracket, just take the whole bracket off and let it sit. And then over here on this side, cooler tube, that bolt right there, and then right up there is the dipstick tube, right there. And then I'll be able to put the transmission jack underneath it. Now I'll come back here and take these out. And then there's two there, and two there. This whole transmission is going to come down, go backwards. And I don't know to clear the transfer case from the fuel filter. Should have enough room to clear from the exhaust as well. That'll give me enough. You can bring it back and lower it down at the same time. Then I'll push it back here, out of the way, and that'll give me room to up here. Alright, we're going to pull the bottom bolts out of the starter. I'm going to stay back here, get the top bolts out, everything's disconnected. See what we can order at. Let's see what comes out of it. A really long bolt on the bottom. It's like too tight for your finger, too loose for the ratchet. Let me go get
Is this your computer too? Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Am I okay to shut it? Okay.
Cooler lines on, dipstick tubes out, just kind of hang around right over there. I know some of this is hard to see. I'm just going through loosening the bolts. And then I'll finish. I might body work. So what I'm doing, we'll work my way around the top, take the bolts out the top. Then I'll come put the holder right here, and then we'll take these 18 millies out here, the two here, two here. We're gonna lower this thing down and back it out. So let me finish getting these top bolts out of here, and then I'll show you pulling these bottom bolts out. You can see there's oil inside here. We'll watch the oil come out of it. Okay, so loose. There's two bolts up top. Those are these two bolts up top. That's for the bracket. And there's two more up top. But I also unfortunately I don't have the information about cafe. What's in here? See if I can get you guys to see inside there. So how much you can see.
His kidney values are higher than they were. His BUN at your primary care veterinarian is 99. State is greater than 130. So it's too high for the machine to even read. And it's why
And all I gotta do is pull like two more bolts and then pull the whole transmission. But that's gonna be the end of today's video because we're at a stopping point. And since it's already after 3 o'clock, it's going to take too much time to go to the other shop and then come back over here. It'll be time to go by then. So I'm going to leave this right here. We're going to cut it out right here. This will be a part 1. There will be a part 2. And hopefully finish putting in that nice part 2 video. So with that being said, I love you guys and I will see you on the next one. The build show today, we're going to show you a repair job. The tree fell, damaged the mast, and we've got a big repair job. Now, just to be clear, this is a DIY project. You're about to see master electrician Travis Brungard. He's a licensed electrician. He's going to walk you through all the steps. It's pretty fun. That being said, repairing it, let's get it going.
I'm Travis Brungard, master electrician. This construction in Prairie Village, Kansas. We have the good fortune of being able to show you how to rebuild your service after a tree falls on it today. So we're going to replace those conductors for you today. We're going to show the rebuild of that hub, which is pretty simple. And then we're also going to show you some specialty tools that make this stuff a little bit easier. So stick around and we'll show you what we know. In this case, we made a connection across the rough edge of the failed hub. There was just too much weight on the line, so as it pulled the mast down off the side of the house, the riser and mast pulled it down. It actually broke the metal hub, which in turn created a rough edge that cut through the insulator on the neutral conductor and one of our phases. So these two conductors being compromised across this metal connection is what created that super loud pop, interrupted the service, and created this beautiful little char pattern on the side. Most of this is just an easy cleanup. I can back out the screws on the old hub, and there's minor deformation of the top of the meter base that I think I can correct when I crank down the threaded screws. That'll flatten that out. I can install the new hub. Then we can go ahead and just reinstall the same riser. Weatherhead wasn't even compromised. Like, everything is fine, but we need new 2-hole straps to secure the riser, and we really need to resolve those conductors being damaged. What you're looking at here is only safe for me to work on for 2 reasons. One, Evergy, our local service provider, came through and installed a pigtail. They removed the meter from the socket and have now directly wired, bypassing the meter, for the service conductors to provide power to the home. And they've wrapped it with an insulated conductor. This is your neutral, so it doesn't need to be wrapped, but your 2 phases are wrapped up and safe. So that's the only reason it's safe for you to work around this without some specialty gear. All of the work that I'm going to be doing is not hot. We're going from the top side of the meter base up to our point of attachment, and once we've reestablished that, I can call my service provider, Evergy in this case, let them know we can remove the pigtail, install the meter, and we're ready to go hot. They'll obviously have to inspect it. That's part of the process too. But this is master electrician stuff. This is not DIY. I'm going to go ahead and fix up my service when the tree falls on. I want to get back up and running. This is deadly stuff. So there is no breaker. There is nothing to shut off to keep you safe from the voltage that's flowing in on your service lines. As you know, residential service electricians, I'm licensed to build this service, and with the help of my local service provider, I can do that very safely. So we're going to get started. I think we'll start by cleaning off the siding, because that's kind of scary. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and spin the hub off, reattach the mast after replacing the hub. We'll slide the service conductors in, and we'll get this thing back up and running so we can call the service provider, have them remove the pigtail, and reestablish power to this home. We ran to the home center, and we picked up some new conductors, and they're sold by the foot, so we didn't have to buy a spool, which is good because it's several $1,000s, or at least $1,200, I think. We only needed 12 feet. So handling this larger gauge wire is sometimes fairly difficult because it doesn't have very much flexibility. It's rather rigid. So sometimes you just have to be real aggressive with it. Bend it out straight. There we go. So I can reuse this riser. There's really nothing wrong with it, but I do need to get the hub off and a new one on. And we're going to start getting into some specialty tools here, which is always kind of fun on the build show. This is obviously not specialty. This is just big channel locks. But we do have some fun stuff that we've purchased over the years from Milwaukee, specifically to do service work. And so we'll show you our cable cutter and our wire stripper for a large gauge wire. 2 ways to do this. I could pull my conductors through on the ground, or I could install this, strap it, feed the service conductors up, and let them curve out the top. Because I have a soffit overhead that they would almost certainly run into and bind on, I'm actually going to lay this down and feed my conductors through on the ground, and I'll spin my hub on after. And I actually find it easier to feed the conductors into the pipe sometimes, and other times to feed the pipe onto the conductors. But since we know we're going to end up wanting enough conductor out the bottom to work into our panel, we don't need to go too far. We should have, I believe the Evergy code is, or the Evergy requirements rather, is that you have at least 24 inches in your service loop, so out of the top of the weatherhead. The service conductors have to have a bend down before they actually attach to the overhead service from the utility. So I've got more than that on that end. I think they just cut me a little extra. So we're at this point ready to go ahead and get that hub spun on there, install it so that you can get it secured to the top of the meter base, excuse me. And anytime you're threading plastic into metal, I always feel like there's a potential for cross-threading. So I'm pretty ginger with it on the start before I start working on it with the big pliers. The big channel locks. And then we'll do most of the other connections from up on the ladder. But we do need to get the service conductors into socket. You can see this just has that little offset built into it. Specifically so that we can accommodate the distance from the wall. Alright, so we have our conductors with our length for drip loop. We'll snap the cap on our weatherhead there, and this can be left ready for the professionals from Evergy. Probably do them a favor and strip the ends for them. This one's pretty specialized. It's a little bit overkill for what we need, because when you buy the kit, you're getting all of these different sizes. These are all actually for copper. They didn't come, this set wasn't available with the aluminum ones when we bought it. And of course, we mostly use aluminum service cables, so those copper ones go underutilized, but they do have a whole set of aluminum ones. We pretty much only use the 4/0 and 2/0, and that's what I have here. So all this does is perfectly strip the insulator away from the service conductor without any mix in the conductor. So I can set it to length. You see here, it's got it in inches or in millimeters, and all I would do is unlock the depth stop on the top and slide that in or out, which would then allow the conductor to go further into the tool. If I remove the die, you can see that piston is the other side of that adjustable depth. And then there's a single tooth that engages the side of the cutting head. And once that's engaged, this is, again, incredibly simple to use. Simply insert the conductor, pull the trigger. And now you have it perfectly stripped to the exact depth that you need with no damage to the conductor. That's pretty slick. So it's worth having if you're going to do a lot of service. It certainly, again, allows you one-handed operation, which, as compared with being up on the ladder and trying to work your way around with a knife, even if it's a hawkbill and you're a lineman and you're damn good at it, it's still faster and easier with the tool. Now remember, the hub did get a little bit deformed during the event. So we're going to try and pull it down a little bit. Alright, so we've got our hub secured, our mast is all up, weatherhead snapped on, all that stuff's done and ready to go. Having already bent the service conductors down, they don't want to move around, so now is the time to start making up the top side of our meter base. And we want to always leave enough length that we can bend things around a little bit and make them land nice. And then we want to cut the conductors to the right length. So I'm going to use the Milwaukee cable cutter. This is an M12 tool that we picked up when we started doing more services. And obviously you can do this manually, it's just harder to do. The way that we used to do it is with a big set of lopper style cutters, which works fine as well, but you end up needing quite a bit of leverage in strength. So you can see why we made the purchase. All right, so we've stripped back the insulator from our neutral conductor, and now we're going to land it in the panel, or excuse me, in the meter base. And we've got these lugs that have obviously a rounded edge so they don't damage the conductor. And they also have a little tooth on the top that slides into the track so that the conductor can be managed and the lug can be slid in without like worrying about it falling all the way out. But something that people should probably understand about aluminum conductors is that they're prone to oxidizing. So, because of that, we have to keep some Nolox, which is a antioxidant joint compound, and it's kind of sloppy and messy. So I keep it in a bag so it doesn't get all over my tools. And you really want to coat the conductors with the Nolox so that it doesn't oxidize and create a problem. Because that would be additional resistance, and resistance creates heat. Heat can lead to failure, so on and so forth. We have our neutral conductor prepped. Slide it back in there. And then drop our lug into the track. And then secure it with a hex wrench. 5/16 is the size that this one requires. Go ahead and strip back these other conductors. First, we're going to have to cut them to the right length. The other thing I was going to show you is that these service conductors, like I said, they're hard to bend. And for that reason, a lot of guys will use the round hole in the end of a crescent wrench to bend them. I actually favor using blocking pliers because I think you create a little bit more leverage on them that way. So I'm going to use my knife to cut away the insulator. And anytime we cut insulation away from wires with a knife, we're trying to score the insulation. We're not actually wanting to cut through it, because if we did, we would potentially compromise the conductor. So once you score it, then a lot of times you can just twist it away and it'll break the connection of the plastic. See, there we go. See how it's starting to tear it open? And once that starts, you can grab a hold of it and pull it off. And that's why I favor having the teeth of my locking pliers rather than crescent wrench. There we go. And you can see I've stripped away a lot of extra conductor here. I'm going to cut off the excess. Again, we want to put a little Nolox on it. And I believe they recommend brushing it on. You can do that with a little sandpaper, and we've done that. Double duty, scratches the aluminum a little bit, and also distributes the Nolox into the conductor itself, like in between the strands. So once again, we're going to get the lug set in the track, drive it down, and then lock it in with the 5/16 hex. And then we got one more to do. What we're doing today is trying to get this service wrapped up. We're back here working on this electrical service with the build show today, And I'm going to show you this, even though you should never ever do this. This is how this works video, not a this is how you do this video. I'm a master electrician. This is lineman work. This is something that I'm certified and trained to do, and it really should not be ever attempted by anyone who does not have that certification and training. So if you're in California, call CJ. If you're in city, call me. But find a licensed master if you have to do anything with your electrical service. This is not for messing around. This is an unprotected pigtail. So what we have is the full voltage from the transmission lines provided by our local utility, Evergy, with no sort of circuit breaker protection, nothing to interrupt this. So no matter what happens, when I start working on this, this is going to be delivering voltage to anything that will take it. So the first thing that I did was go into the basement and shut off the panel so that when I start disconnecting things, we don't have an arc. Because if there's no load to draw on, we really should not have that arc. The second thing I'm going to do is put on my gloves. This is a set of, what are there, 400, 1,000. There's a voltage rating. Here we go. 500 volts AC is what the rubbers are rated to. And then the exterior gloves, the leather gloves, have a rating of their own. This is class 00 ANSI ASTM tested glove. And we are about to slip these bad boys on and start taking things apart. With my glasses on and my gloves on, I'm going to start disassembling the pigtail, which is delivering temporary power from the overhead lines into our service conductors that go to our panel. So we've got obviously a neutral conductor. It's not capped, so that's the easy one to start. We'll land it. You'll see that I've put loops into this service conductor so that if we ever had to extend or move or change, if we had an arc and I had to cut off some conductor, I have some more to work with. So you'll see me bend all those in, and then we're going to go ahead and get everything landed and turn back on. But to keep power to the customer, we have to do what's called double lugging, which is a complete no-no. We're not allowed to do it anywhere in the panel. We're not allowed to do it anywhere else except when the service provider says, yes, for this pigtail, we want you to go ahead and double lug those. And what that means is I'm going to put the service conductors that go into the house underneath the lugs, and then I'm going to slide directly on top of them these pigtail wires so that we can keep this customer in power until the utility gets here, loosens the lug, slides the pigtail out, and then makes the connection up at the top of the service so that this is all permanent. And then we'll install the meter crosses from the service coming in from above, the meter plugs in and connects down to the service going into the panel. So that completes that connection. The meter itself acts as a disconnect. That is the neutral removed from the service. Clamp. Now we want to bend this and slide it up under the conductor here and land it. And this, unfortunately, is something that I would really prefer that the utility do for us because it's all kind of under tension. So getting close. We really need to get neutral up under as well. So this is now landed. Our next step is to start landing phases, and this is where it gets super dangerous because this is, like I said, unprotected, super hot. So I'm going to back out conductor, the lug, to receive the conductor. All right, so we're going to break the cap. Okay, so this is hot. This was the leather piece. This is just to prevent the casual touching of the conductors, creating a dangerous situation. Drive it down, bend it so that we know where to go, slide right into that, push it down and tighten it up. We now have one phase connected, hot. Now we play the same game on the other side, but remember we now have voltage across this, which means this is hot. There's potential across these 2 points. We have our neutral secure, and we have our single phase secure. So this is where we're now at the highest risk. If we slip across, we have a lot of problems. So now I'm not going to let go of this guy because this is the scary bits. This across the leg. You can see we still have plenty of the no locks on from when I did the service. I installed this service maybe 2 or 3 years ago, so it hasn't been long. And there's plenty of that still on there. So wrapping this up. Okay, so we now have it bent into the location that we want. I want to go ahead and set the lug into place. And then just like we did before, slide the pigtail in underneath the lug. Okay. So this is now complete. We need to insulate this, put a little cardboard cover on it, and hang the cover down, tape it off, label it hot, and we are now ready for the utility to come back and install the meter after they inspect it to complete the service. But we are 100% safe. As soon as this is covered with some sort of insulating material, we're just going to use a section of cardboard, and then we'll throw the cover in over top of the cardboard as well. And then I'm going to tape it shut because I have little kids here and they're curious. So if I make it really, really difficult to get into, it's very unlikely that anyone will get into it. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.
Guys, big thanks to Travis Brungard. If you don't know him, this is a really interesting guy. He holds a master electrician license and a master mechanical license, and he's a fabulous builder. We've been shooting videos now with Travis for about 4 years now, so you can go back and see all of Travis's content from his company, Catalyst Build, in Kansas City, Missouri. He's a great educator, just a really good person who also has a heart for training young people in the trades and getting young people to get into the trades. So I'm super thankful to have Travis on thebuildshow.com. If you're not currently subscribed to our newsletter, though, I'm going to have a link to our newsletter below. That's how you know when Travis has something new on the site. You'll get an email from my team on Tuesday and Friday and Sunday that says, here's everything that's new. Here's Travis's new video that came out this week. And then you can click right on that and go straight to that video on thebuildshow.com. Guys, big thanks to Travis. Follow him on Instagram. It's @CatalystBuild. He's publishing almost on a daily basis, and he's just a terrific guy, as I said. Just really cares about elevating the industry and our standards. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.
No. No. You coming? When? Huh? When? When? Huh? When, Dale? Dale?
This whole region used to be a flourishing village, but I think it was abandoned about 50 years ago. Now people are rebuilding the abandoned ruins. And they came because it's quiet here. There's silence. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. But yet, it's not too far from the world, because if you go down this mountain, you're in Costa Blanca, which is one of the most busy areas of Spain. Hello? Hola, hello. Ah, what a good spot you have there. So this is out here. It wasn't hard to find, but you are down a lot of narrow, small roads. When we started this project, there were no roads. Okay. Our concrete roads. Yes, it was there was nothing when we started. You came with it habitable? No. Oh no. No. It was full grown. The entrance to the house. And this is what it looks like inside. Quite messy. So yeah, you could say we have some work to do. We were not construction people at all. We have been spending the last 5 years before we started this project behind a computer. Phone, internet, email, blah blah blah. Nothing with our hands.
And this was very hands-on.
Yeah. We should have started with an apartment. No, we decided to start with this. I like how you kept the old here. I mean, you see it, you feel like you're sort of in the room. Yeah, it's fascinating because back in the days, the donkeys came in through this door. So they came in through this door and this corridor, because that door over there, which is now a bedroom, used to be the shed. So the kitchen that is over the left was always where the kitchen was. But to the right, there was the shed over there, and behind the kitchen was the place where the donkeys and the animals used to eat. Real danger. Yeah. So the old structure has been kept. And also in that area, when we were digging into the floor, we found the refrigerator of the people we dug out, this was the old fridge. So we took out these tiles, and underneath we found all these stuffs. So underneath was, you're saying old fridge, it would just be like a storage room, almost wasn't big, but there were pots in there with fruit. What was inside? Some kind of very stinky plant, or maybe it's been vegetables, or maybe it's been fruit. I really don't know. What if you're clearing out just rubble or trees?
Trees growing here and rubble. On top of the floor, there were massive piles of stone. It was this entire wall, an entire room.
Are you coming? Why? I thought you were coming in. I said, you, Ma. I don't want him. I want the other monkey. I want the other monkey. You. You know? You? You coming? Ma? I know what you're gonna make, Mama. Ma? Mom? Mom? I guess what you're gonna make. Start with a P? Is it like a dessert? Is that Patelli's? Patelli's? Is it like food you eat for dinner or something? No.